κολλάτε. Ευλογητός ο Θεός ημών πάντοτε νυν και αεί και εις τους αιώνας των αιώνων.
Fire. Θεός, κατά το μέγα ελαιός σου δεόμεθά σου επάκουσον και ελέησον. Κύριε ελέησον, Κύριε ελέησον, Κύριε ελέησον. Ετιδεόμεθα υπέρ των ευσεβών και ορθοδόξων χριστιανών. Κύριε ελέησον, Κύριε ελέησον, Κύριε ελέησον. Again we pray for our Archbishop Elpidophoros and all our brotherhood in Christ. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. Ετιδεόμεθα υπέρ του ευσεβούς ημών γένους πάσης αρχής και εξουσίας εν το κράτη ημών και του καταξηράν θάλασσαν και αέρα φιλοχρίστου ημών στρατού και υπέρ των Κύριων των Θεών ημών συνεργήσε και κατεβοδώσε αυτούς εν πάσιν. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. Again we pray for the health, peace, and salvation of all who have assembled here to glorify you, our God and benefactor, on the illustrious bicentennial of the Greek Revolution, that our fathers declared in your holy name on this festive day of the Annunciation as they proceeded to fight for faith and country. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. Ετιδεόμεθα υπέρ μακαρίας μνήμης και αιωνίων απαύσεως πάντων των εν της ιερής του έθνους ημών αγώσιν, υπέρ πίστος και πατρίδος αγωνισαμένων και θυσιαστέντων, και υπέρ του συγχωρηθήνε αυτής, παμπλημέλημα εκουσιόντε και ακουσιών. Έτσι δεόμεθα και υπέρ του διαφυλαχθήνε την Αγίαν του Χριστού Μεγάλην Εκκλησίαν, την Ιεράν ημών Αρχιεπισκοπήν και την πόλην ταύτην και πάσαν πόλην και χώραν από οργής λοιμού, σεισμού, καταποντισμού, πυρός μαχαίρας, επιδρομής άλλων φύλων εμφυλίου πολέμου και ευνηδίου θανάτου, υπέρ του ήλιον ευμένη και ευδιάλακτον γενέστε των αγαθών και φιλάνθρωπων Θεών ημών του αποστρέψε και διασκεδάσε, πάσαν οργήν και νόσον την καθήμων κινουμένη, και ρίσαστε ημάς εκ της επικειμένης δικαίας αυτού απειλής και ελέησε ημάς. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. Again we pray that the Lord as God may hear the prayer of us sinners and have mercy on us. Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison,
επάκουσον ημών ο Θεός, ο σωτήρ ημών, η ελπίς πάντων των περάτων της γης και των ενθαλάσσι μακράν, και ήλαιος γενού ημιν δέσποτα επί τες αμαρτίες ημών, και ελέησον ημάς. Ελεήμων γάρ και φιλάνθρωπος Θεός υπάρχεις, και εσύ την δόξαν αναπέμπομεν, το Πατρί και το Υιό και το Αγίο Πνεύματι, νυν και αεί, και εις τους αιώνας των αιώνων.
Του Κυρίου δεηθόμεν.
Κύριε ο Θεός ημών, ο τα σύμπαντα το κράτη συνέχων, και τη Θεία Σου και πανσθενή βουλή κυβερνών των κόσμων, ο ποιήσας εξ ενός αίματος παν έθνος ανθρώπων, κατοικήν επί παν το πρόσωπον της γης. Εκάστοδε αυτών ορίσας τας οροθεσίας της κατοικίας αυτών, ο και το ευσεβέσιμον έθνος εξαιρέτως ευεργετήσας, την επίγνωσιν της εις αληθείας αυτό χαρισάμενος, προς το φως της Ορθοδόξου πίστεως καθοδηγήσας και μεγάλους εξ αυτού τη Εκκλησία πατέρας και διδασκάλους αναδείξας, ελεύθερον μεν αυτό επί αιώνας διατηρήσας, δουλωθέν δε, στηρίξας και διασώσας, και εις ελεύθερον άφθης βίον αυτό εξαναστήσας. Αυτός Πανάγαθε Δέσποτα, σήμερον επί τη ενεστώση λαμπρά επετείο της συμπληρώσεως ετών 200 από της εθνεγερσίας, εις εν το Αγίο Σου ονόματι ήρξαντο κατά την εόρτιον ταύτην ημέραν του Ευαγγελισμού οι πατέρες ημών, υπερπίστεως και πατρίδος προς τον αγώνα χωρίσαντες, την ευχαριστίαν και δοξολογίαν ημών πρόσδεξε και επάκουσον ημών εν πίστη δεωμένων Σου. Τας ψυχάς των υπέρ της πίστεως και της πατρίδος ημών αγωνισαμένων και θυσιασθέντων, η μαχαίρα και αγχώνη ανερεθέντων, η εν εχμαλωσία και κακουχία τελειωθέντων, πατέρων και αδελφών ημών, μετά των Αγίων Σου ανάπαυσον. Ημάς δε πάντας αξίους της ελευθερίας ανάδειξον και εν ειρήνη διαφύλαξον, πάσαν αρχήν και εξουσίαν εν το κράτη ημών, εν ειρήνη και ομονία διατήρησον, ευστάθιαν τη Εκκλησία και τη πολιτεία δωρούμενος, σίγαρη ο άρχον της ειρήνης και σωτήρ των ψυχών ημών, και σύ την δόξαν αναπέμπομεν, το Πατρί και το Υιό και το Αγίο Πνεύματι, νυν και αεί και εις τους αιώνας των αιώνων. Δόξασι ο Θεός ημών, δόξασι, ο διημάς τους ανθρώπους και δια την ημετέραν σωτηρίαν, εκ Πνεύματος Αγίου και Μαρίας της Παρθένου σαρκωθήνε καταδεξάμενος, Χριστός ο αληθινός Θεός ημών, τες πρεσβείες της Παναχράντου και Παναμόμου Αγίας αυτού Μητρός, εις και των Ευαγγελισμών εορτάζομεν, δυνάμει του Τιμίου και Ζωοποιού Σταυρού, προστασίες των Τιμίων επουρανίων δυνάμενων σωμάτων, οικεσίες του Τιμίου ενδόξου προφήτου προδρόμου και βαπτιστού Ιωάννου, των Αγίων ενδόξων και πανεφήμων Αποστόλων, των Αγίων ενδόξων και καλλινίκων μαρτύρων, των οσίων και θεοφόρων πατέρων ημών, των Αγίων και δικαίων Θεοπατώρων Ιωακήμ και Άνης και πάντων των Αγίων, ελεήσε και σώσε ημάς ως αγαθός και φιλάνθρωπος και ελεήμων Θεός. Διευχών των Αγίων Πατέρων ημών, Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός, ελέησον και σώσον ημάς.
Kalos orissata and welcome to the doxology and solemn celebration of the bicentennial of the Greek Revolution of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. Today we'll hear prayers and praise, music and song, patriotic messages of hope and remembrance from America and from Greece. We thank you for joining us today, March 25th, and we welcome you to this virtual worldwide celebration. To begin the cultural part of our program, we present the New York Notables Trio with original arrangements by Grammy-nominated New York resident composer Spyros Exaras. To sing the national anthems of Greece and the United States is the Sublime Archdiocesan Byzantine Choir, conducted by Dr. Demetrios Hechaghias. Please welcome the Supreme President of the American Hellenic Educational Progressive Association, George Choriatis, and the Vice Chairman of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocesan Council, John Katzimatidis.
Eminence. The landmark bicentennial of the Greek War of Independence is here. In 1821, after nearly 400 years of Ottoman repression, the Greeks bound together under a flag bearing the cross to fight for freedom and justice in the land which gave the world democracy. Like the revolution which took place in America 45 years earlier, Greece would embark on a journey forever linking our two countries in their struggle for freedom and independence. The founding fathers of the United States of America drew upon the ideals and principles forged in ancient Greece in constructing our nation. Thomas Jefferson called ancient Greece the light, which led ourselves out of Gothic darkness. All who cherish a free and democratic government are beneficiaries of Greece's legacy, and thus should consider themselves Philhellenes. This is why Americans fought alongside the Greeks during their struggle for freedom in the Greek War of Independence, most notably Dr. Howe, and many gave the ultimate sacrifice. The Greeks received the support of the likes of Jefferson, Monroe, John Quincy Adams, and U.S. Representatives Daniel Webster and Henry Clay. American Philhellenes rallied support for the war effort by holding fundraising events in several American cities. Throughout history, Your Eminence, Greece and the United States have stood shoulder to shoulder to face the challenges of an ever-changing world. Greece had been allied with the United States in every major conflict of the 20th century. The strong alliance continues into the 21st century. Greece has contributed significantly to NATO and the United States missions, including peacekeeping operations in an ever-increasing important region of the world. U.S. government officials have rightfully called Greece a pillar of stability in the Eastern Mediterranean, and moreover, the ongoing U.S.-Greek strategic dialogue is a further demonstration of how the relationship has grown to new heights of cooperation. In celebration of this, the 200th anniversary of Greece's independence, the HEPA family chapters, districts, and the Greek diaspora are working together to promote this momentous event safely as we all endure a modern-day battle against the coronavirus pandemic. We have worked admirably to secure proclamations from state and local governments, flag-raising ceremonies at state capitals and city halls, and wreath-laying at memorial sites. Indeed, our family members worldwide promote and sustain the celebration of this historic day. The American Hellenic community also is grateful to the members of Congress who have taken the time to commemorate Greek Independence Day with speeches just this past week on the Senate and on the House floors. In addition, we appreciate Congressional Hellenic Caucus co-chairs, U.S. Representatives Carolyn Maloney and Gus Belarakis, for introducing a resolution that commemorates Greece's bicentennial, and most recently, for the return of the Parthenon marbles. They should be in Greece. We support those resolutions, and we call for their swift passage. Finally, Your Eminence, I ask that we take a moment to acknowledge and pay respects to those who sacrificed, which allowed freedom and democracy to take root once again in Greece. I also invite a global Hellenic and Philhellenic community to join us as a community in July in Athens, where we will continue the year-long celebration of Greece's most glorious bicentennial. Zito Ielas.
And now we'll hear from the Vice Chairman of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocesan Council, John Katzimatidis.
Thank you. Today's a special day, Greek Independence Day, and we celebrate it as Americans with Greek hearts, because we are Americans, but our heart always belongs in Greece through our forefathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers. If we do not have respect for our forefathers, then we are not human. We talked about we were under enslavement for 400 years by the Ottoman Empire. 400 years is a long time, and to be able to preserve our religion, our heritage, our culture through 400 years, that is a miracle. God was watching over us. The American Revolution in 1776 gave enthusiasm to the Greek people in 1821 to set themselves free, and so we did. Many people from the Greek Revolution that ended in 1829 came back to America and helped the abolition movement to set slavery free in the United States. Many people don't know that. I respect my forefathers. My grandfather came from Constantinople with his family and escaped in the middle of the night one time in about 1911. My other grandfather went down to Niceros, and then he came to America in 1913. My paternal grandfather came to America in 1913 too, but he passed away during the pandemic of 1918. And many a times I would think about it, and his name is John Katsimatidis. When we ran into the pandemic, many a times I thought about it. And was I scared? Yes. Does history repeat itself? Who knows? But it took faith, it took courage to make sure my wife, myself, my children survive to fight another day. I want to thank His Eminence. I want to thank all of our clergy for the courage they gave everybody to make it through the night. God bless Greece, God bless New York, and God bless America. Thank you.
"200 years ago today, according to oral tradition, Archbishop Germanos of Patra unfurled a banner at the monastery of Agia Lavra. By doing so, he declared the start of the Greek Revolution and the foundation of what we now know as modern Greece. Today, of course, we celebrate not only the Greek Revolution, but as we have for 2 millennia, we also commemorate the Annunciation, when the Archangel Gabriel came to Mary with the news that she would bear the Son of God. Christ was announced as the hope of all humanity, as the greatest light to ever shine in this earthly realm, and so it is fitting that the Greek War of Independence is also said to have begun on this date and to be remembered every year in conjunction with the Annunciation of our Lord and Savior. It is what makes it additionally poignant and fitting that an archbishop unfurled a blue and white banner of a cross to signal the desire for Greek independence. The American, French, and Greek revolutions occurred in successive order, and all were in turn fostered by the ideals of the Enlightenment, many of which were inspired by the ancient Greek philosophies and principles of democracy, freedom, and liberty. Greece did not attain its independence alone. It took the assistance of many who shared the same beliefs and the same desire for freedom. The notion of Hellenism was solidified and unified during the fight for Greek independence, and it was an idea that inspired countless strangers from foreign lands to join the cause. While it is well known that many European Philhellenes fought for the Greek cause, the poet Lord Byron most famously, less known are the ties between American Philhellenes, American abolitionists, and the Greek journey towards independence. The United States had recently thrown off the yoke of British tyranny, and the desire for freedom from outside oppression was easily recognized in the Greek struggle against the Ottoman Empire, leading many Americans to help the Greek cause in whatever way they could. Among the more notable Americans who journeyed to Greece were Colonel William Townsend Washington, whose father was a cousin of George Washington. He resigned his U.S. Army commission to fight for the Greek cause, eventually leading a Greek rifle company. So strong was his conviction that in a letter from the time he wrote, "I want to die for Greece, and Greece only." Jonathan Peckham Miller was an abolitionist who fought in Greece and returned to the U.S. with an even more fervent belief in the cause of abolition. Before his return home, Miller adopted a young Greek orphan. This boy, named Lucas Miltiades Miller, grew up to become the first Greek American to be elected to Congress in 1891. Samuel Gridley Howe was an abolitionist and doctor who became Surgeon General for the Greek Army and served aboard the Greek naval vessel Kartaria. Troubled by the humanitarian crisis he observed and inspired by the revolt to change it, Howe redoubled his pursuit of abolition upon his return to America. Perhaps most notable was James Williams, an African-American from Baltimore who, as a member of the Order of Philhellenes, fought with the Greek Revolutionary Navy from 1822 to 1827. He gave his life for the cause, was buried in Greece, and was remembered on the 192nd anniversary of the Revolution by Congressman John Sarbanes, son of the recently departed Senator Paul Sarbanes.
When Hellenes acted to liberate themselves in 1821, James Williams, an African-American sailor from my hometown of Baltimore, joined the Greek Revolutionary Navy and fought at the Battle of Navarino. In turn, John Zachos and Photius Fisk, orphans of the Greek War of Independence, became passionate abolitionists in America. Zachos was a member of the Educational Commission of Boston and New York. Fisk, a U.S. Navy chaplain, helped slaves find freedom by supporting the Underground Railroad.
Please welcome the Majority Leader of the United States Senate, the Honorable Charles Schumer.
Hi, everyone. This is Senator Chuck Schumer, and it's my great privilege to join His Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros of America, the Exarch of His All Holiness Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew of Constantinople, and members of the Greek American community across America. In commemorating this noble and historic occasion, the bicentennial of the Greek Revolution that brought forth the free state of the Hellenic Republic, which has been a friend and ally to the United States ever since. For centuries, America and Greece have shared a uniquely symbiotic relationship built upon shared reverence for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Although the American War of Independence came first, the principle and ideals that inspired our founders were directly connected to the great philosophers and politicians of classical Greece. So when the Greeks rebelled against the Ottoman Empire several decades later, the righteous cause was naturally taken up by many contemporary American leaders across the political spectrum, like Daniel Webster and Henry Clay, and thus began a fruitful partnership between our two countries, which is embodied nowhere more vividly than in our great city of New York. Over the years, our city and state have been enriched immensely by the cultural, economic, and civic contributions of so many generations of Greek Americans. My good friends Dennis Meal and George Sunis are but two of countless members of this community who have given so much to New York and to America, and are both close friends of mine. So let us celebrate today and every day the courage, the idealism, and the perseverance of the Greek freedom fighters who transformed the world 200 years ago. May their stirring example continue to serve as an inspiration to us all during these dark times. Thank you.
Please welcome two proud Greek American members of the U.S. House of Representatives, the Honorable Dina Titus, Democrat of Nevada, and the Honorable Gus Bilirakis, Republican of Florida.
Hello, I'm Dina Titus, Congresswoman from Nevada's 1st District in the heart of Las Vegas. It's an honor to join you in celebrating the bicentennial of the start of the Great Revolution that led to Greek independence. On this meaningful anniversary, we recognize the special bond between our two nations and revel in the boundless spirit of the Hellenic community. Greece is the birthplace of democracy, and for 2 centuries, the modern Greek state has promoted liberty, peace, and human rights. I'm extremely proud to be part of the Greek American community, which has contributed so much to the United States and to the world. My grandfather came to this country from Greece through Ellis Island, and he taught my sister and me certain Hellenic values, like helping others, giving back to the community, leaving a place better than you found it, and getting the most out of life. I've tried to follow those principles in my private life as well as in my public service. I'm fortunate to serve on the Foreign Affairs Committee, where I work to strengthen the bond between our two nations and bring attention to our common ideals. Just recently, I had a dialogue with Secretary of State Blinken about the U.S. commitment to the security and stability of the Eastern Mediterranean. In Congress, I also consult with other Greek American members as part of the Hellenic Caucus, and I focused on reunifying Cyprus, monitoring Turkey's increasing aggression in the region, and protecting the Ecumenical Patriarchate. Now more than ever, the United States must be a steadfast ally to our longtime Greek partner. You know you can always count on me as a friend and member of the family in Congress. Please call on me anytime I can be of service. And thank you again for inviting me to celebrate this special occasion with all of you. Ευχαριστώ.
Good afternoon and happy Greek Independence Day. Zito η Ελλάς, Zito η 25η Μαρτίου. We all know the long-suffering history of Greece under the 400 years of Turkish rule. In fact, over the weekend, I hosted a viewing of the Cliffs of Freedom movie, which so poignantly depicted the Eleftheria ή Thanatos ethos. Coupled with the Sunday of Orthodoxy this past week, Greek Orthodox Christians remain inspired by the courage and faithfulness of our ancestors who 200 years ago took up the challenge of Bishop Germanos of Patras to live free or die trying as he raised the flag of revolution in 1821. Like the American revolutionaries who fought for independence and established this great republic we call the land of the free and the home of the brave, Greek freedom fighters took a cue from our forefathers and earned their liberty with blood. The freedom we enjoy currently is due to the sacrifices made by men and women in the past. I take great pride, as I said, in both my Greek and American heritage. Each time I perform my congressional duties, I'm doing so in the legacy of the ancient Greeks and our American forefathers. And we are very, very privileged to be of both cultures, the American culture and the Greek culture. As Thomas Jefferson once said to the ancient Greeks, we are all indebted for the light which led ourselves, American colonists, out of Gothic darkness. Celebrating Greek Independence Day reaffirms the common democratic heritage Americans and Greeks share. And as Americans, we must continue to pursue the spirit of freedom and liberty that characterizes both of these great nations. As Orthodox Christians, let us keep the faith of the apostles and our church fathers. Orthodoxy is the faith on which the world was established. Orthodoxy is the faith in which the Greek Revolution was based. Let us honor the faithful who have made the sacrifice so we can continue to enjoy our freedom. Zito η Ελλάς, Zito η Αμερική, Zito το 21 και Zito η Κύπρο μας. Σας ευχαριστούμε, ο Θεός μαζί σας. Γεια σας.
And now, the President of the Republic of Cyprus, Nikos Anastasiadis.
Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros of America, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the 1821 struggle for independence constitutes one of the most important chapters in the Greek modern history, and the bicentennial is a fitting occasion to honor the sacrifices of its people. Heroic sacrifices based on the vision of uniting and freeing Greece from the slavery, oppression, and tyranny they were suffering due to the Ottoman rule. Fighting with courage and heroism, the Greeks succeeded to establish their own independent state, which proved a milestone in both European and world history, as it inspired other nations to arise in pursuit of their independence. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it would amiss on my behalf if I fail to acknowledge the catalytic role of the Greek Orthodox Church through preserving our national identity, language, and religion, and aiding in every possible way the nation's uprising against the Ottoman oppressor. This cause was also spearheaded by Greeks of the diaspora, who initiated the founding of Φιλική Εταιρεία in 1814, which envisioned a truly independent homeland, free from the Ottoman occupation. Your Eminence, ladies and gentlemen, taking this opportunity, please allow me to commend the small but highly symbolic role of Cyprus, which at the time also suffered from the Ottoman oppression in support of our Greek brothers. More than 1,000 Greek Cypriots heroically fought alongside the Greeks, whilst thousands strongly supported the cause, secretly providing much-needed supplies and aid. This led to severe oppressive measures and the execution of many of our compatriots by the Ottomans, one of whom was the religious leader of the Cypriot Orthodox Church, Archbishop Kyprianos. Your Eminence, distinguished friends, as we honor and commemorate this historic milestone, Cyprus still being under Turkish military occupation recalls the revolution's idea of freedom and independence in our tireless efforts to reach a comprehensive and lasting settlement on the Cyprus problem. And having as a legacy this exact vision of our Greek brothers, I wish to assure that we will continue our struggle so as to establish a truly modern and independent homeland, free from foreign dependencies or occupation. Thank you very much. Χρόνια πολλά, αδελφοί.
Please welcome Carolina Pilou to sing Cantate Eleftherias from the free besieged poetry by Dionysios Solomos with music by Christos Leontis and Yannis Markopoulos. Please welcome Carolina Pilou, principal artist at the Metropolitan Opera of New York. She is accompanied by pianist Areti Giovabou. It is now our distinct privilege and honor to present greetings from the Honorable Kyriakos Mitsotakis, Prime Minister of the Hellenic Republic, and the Leader of the Official Opposition, the Honorable Alexis Tsipras.
Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros of America, Exarch of His Holiness Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew, leaders and representatives of the American and New York state governments, my fellow Greeks. At the dawn of the 3rd century of its free and independent life, Greece is celebrating the 200th anniversary of the 1821 revolution. Looking beyond our borders, towards ecumenical Hellenism, which flourishes at the ends of the earth, and to the prosperous and dynamic Greek-American community with its strong attachment to its homeland. The struggle for freedom was fueled by expatriates who immediately gathered in Greece to fight, but also by fiery patriots in London and Paris, in New York and Boston, who created the Philhellene movement and made significant donations to support the revolution. Decades before the mass immigration of the Greeks to the New World, eminent Americans supported the Greek cause. The Philhellenic committees flourished all over the United States, from New York to Philadelphia, and from Massachusetts to Connecticut, spreading the message of the Greek fight for freedom, but also financially supporting the struggle. Numerous US citizens came to fight to Greece, such as George Jarvis, who died in Argos in 1828, and the doctor Samuel Gridley Howe, who came to Greece immediately after graduating from Harvard. When Greece was liberated, Greeks spread to the 4 corners of the world, but they never forgot their homeland. They returned and took part in the wars of national integration and the glorious victory of 1940. While over time, the expatriates never stopped endowing their places of origins with hospitals and schools, while always supporting the rights of Hellenism with a significant influence they gained through their progress. My fellow Greeks, today Greece is successfully defending itself against the pandemic. Vaccinations proceed at a rapid pace. Our country has become stronger and is able to deal with our national challenges with a renewed sense of confidence. A new national endeavor, which will need the assistance of the Greek communities abroad, is upon us. Soon, the young people who left during the years of the crisis will be able to return, as Greece will need their drive and knowledge. The more mature ones will find new investment opportunities in our country. And everyone, on every visit back home, will always be met with a warm smile. In honor of the 1821 struggle, we gladly accept the challenge of our own creative struggle. Back then, our ancestors led the revolution of the national resurrection. Today, our generation will need to lead a revolution of national reconstruction. And we will win again, united by always remaining strong and optimistic. Happy bicentennial Greece. Happy bicentennial Greeks everywhere in the world.
Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros of America, Exarch of His Holiness Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomeos, fellow Greeks and Philhellenes across America. 200 years after the Greek people declared freedom or death, I join you with a sense of honor to commemorate the great legacy of the struggle for Greek independence. As our countries, our families, our world have been ravaged by a pandemic and economic crisis, the legacy of this struggle for independence is more important than ever. The only way to face these great common challenges of our generation is through the great common ecumenical, as we Greeks will say, values that we share. After all, it is not our history that gives us strength as Greeks, but the values on which our nation was founded. We honor the Greek Revolution, which proved that freedom, eleftheria, is nothing if not the belief of a people that they can define their own destiny. united despite all difficulties, determined despite all setbacks. We honor the Greek Revolution, which inspired peoples across the world to reaffirm and fight for freedom, democracy, and equality. Over the past 200 years, our commitment to these values has helped Greece overcome the greatest challenges, to become a strong European democracy and a regional pillar of peace, stability, and development. Today, based on the friendship between our peoples, Greece stands as a key strategic ally to the United States, expanding relations with old and new partners across the world. As we look ahead, it is these values that must guide us. In order to build a stronger Greece of sustainable development and a better, more just post-pandemic world. The contribution to this effort of the Greek diaspora and our dynamic Greek-American community in particular is as important today as ever. And we all look forward to the opening of the St. Nicholas Church at the rebuilt World Trade Center. It will be a strong message for the future. I wish to all of you happy Greek Independence Day.
Please welcome once again Carolina Pilo to sing Akra tu Tafu Siopi.
As we celebrate the freedom of Greece and remember the American involvement, it must be noted that the Greek-American relationship did not only involve those who traveled to Greece to assist directly, nor did it cease with the end of the Revolution. In fact, the fight for freedom continued for many of these men and women on our own shores and is a legacy we look to today as we continue the long struggle towards freedom and equality for all. Some women in the U.S. supported Greek independence, as surely as they promoted abolition. Especially concerned over the plight of Greek women and children, many of these reformers and abolitionists pledged support to the Greek cause, held fundraising efforts, and lobbied Congress and other organizations to aid the Greek movement. One of the first benevolent societies created to help send money, food, and supplies to the Greek cause was the Philhellenic Committee of New York. It is estimated that American organizations contributed over $12 million to the Greek cause throughout the course of the Revolution. Many of those who fought to free Greece from oppression journeyed home to renew their efforts to combat slavery. In addition to those returning Americans who had fought in Greece, there were many war orphans who were adopted by American families. One of these, Photius Fisk, born Photius Kavasales, became a passionate abolitionist and was a fervent and dedicated supporter and facilitator of the Underground Railroad. Fisk worked with William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass at the American Anti-Slavery Society and helped fund the activities of John Brown, the anti-slavery crusader, whose famous raid on Harper's Ferry served as a prelude to the Civil War. Fisk later assisted in the construction of the home of Sojourner Truth, the former slave who became a leading advocate for abolition and women's rights. As more and more people in the United States professed support for the cause of Hellenism, a number of prominent abolitionists drew parallels between Greek and African slavery, calling out the hypocrisy of those Americans who condemned the slavery of the Ottoman Empire while supporting it in the United States. They used this argument and the ideals of Greek freedom as a way to expand support for abolition at home. Just as those abolitionists called out the hypocrisies of their day in the pursuit of universal freedom and equality, just as the Greek Revolution fought for those same goals, so must we continue our unflagging pursuit of the freedom of all people to determine their own worth and destinies. The fight for independence was not merely an historical event. It is an ever-changing and constant struggle against the oppression of freedom. Until every human being is treated equally, the end of the path to true independence can never be said to have been reached. The true revolution has never ended. The ideals for which Greeks, Americans, and people the world over have strived for have not been fully achieved. It is up to all of us to lead the way in reaching the fulfillment of these goals and ideals. Without them, we cannot realize the true potential of our humanity. In the 200 years since the Greek Revolution, there have been many changes and many generations of Greek immigrants and Greek Americans. Yet we always seek to uphold and foster the ideals that the Greek Revolution and the American Revolution sought to establish. However we define ourselves and wherever we live, those of Greek descent continue to strive to achieve and flourish. And so we stand united for justice, for equality, for progress, for inclusion, for love, for community, for democracy, for strength, for peace, for hope, for the future.
Born in Thessaloniki, Dr. Albert Bourla is chairman and chief executive officer of Pfizer. He oversaw the development and production of the first COVID-19 vaccine authorized for use in both the U.S. and the EU. And he joins us now to share his thoughts on the bicentennial of the Greek Revolution.
Thank you, George. Γεια σας. Νιώθω μεγάλη συγκίνηση να γιορτάζω την επέτειο των 200 χρόνων από την Ελληνική Επανάσταση με όλους εσάς. Hello, everyone. What a thrill to celebrate Greece's bicentennial with all of you. As someone who was born in Greece, but now lives in the United States, I have had the good fortune to call two of the world's greatest democracies my home. When the US celebrated its bicentennial, I was just a teenager living in my parents' home in Thessaloniki. And today, as Greece celebrates the bicentennial of its own independence, I'm living here with my family in New York City. In addition to being champions for democracy, our two countries have more in common. Both are the product of a revolution. Both believe in the values of freedom, justice, and equality. And both embrace the spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation. It's also not lost on me that Greece, which is the birthplace of Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, is celebrating the bicentennial of its revolution amidst one of the greatest scientific revolutions in the history of mankind. Breakthrough cancer treatments, advances in gene therapies, and of course, the record-breaking speed with which the biopharmaceutical industry delivered multiple COVID-19 vaccines have all helped us make what was once unimaginable, imaginable. As a result, I believe the next 5 to 10 years will be a time of unprecedented medical discovery and improved global health. As a man of science, I can't think of a better time to be alive. As an immigrant who arrived in the United States 20 years ago and now leads one of the world's biggest corporations, I'm the embodiment of the American dream. And as a proud Greek, I couldn't be more proud of our country's history, nor more optimistic about our future. Χρόνια πολλά, ζήτω η 25η Μαρτίου. And for my English-speaking friends, many happy returns. Long live the 25th of March. Thank you.
To sing a pair of selections from Nikos Kazantzakis' Freedom and Death, music by Manos Hatzidakis, is Stefanos Koroneos, international baritone and artistic director of Teatro Grattacielo in New York City.
Simeros o Theos, Aplothiketophos, Stopsiloriti, Elampset obligomeno, dormitis critis, Pithalasa, Aspitia che contezri non eineges, sunt apedia orfane mena, qui adresa prosciniti, via lunta via stella, oris soni, oris visecia. Uine Orpheos, di gritimas nadi,
Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
To all my Greek friends here in the United States, particularly in my home state of Delaware, but throughout this country, happy Greek Independence Day. You know, Aristotle is said to have described friendship as a single soul dwelling in two bodies. That, for me, captures the relationship I've had with the Greek American community and we've had with one another. I've been blessed by lifelong friendships of the Greek American community, including with a great leader whom we recently lost, Senator Paul Sarbanes, a significant defender of Greece in every way. I send my best to Archbishop Elpidophoros, who I met when I was visiting with Father Alex in New York. I found inspiration and courage and principled leadership of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, which has long fought for social justice, going back to the days of standing with Martin Luther King during the Civil Rights Movement, supporting Black Lives Matter protesters, demanding justice for George Floyd. The Greek American community is defined by courage, decency, and honor, as well as an immense pride in the heart and heritage of Greece. Millions of Greek immigrants have brought with them culture and values that have enriched what it means to be an American. And the United States and the world owe a debt of gratitude to ancient Greek ideas that first taught us that we, the people, the demos, in our democracy, can control our own destiny. So today, as we mark 200 years of friendship between our nations and between our peoples, we celebrate the shared values of liberty, self-government, and the awesome capacity of the human spirit, there's nothing we can't do. We celebrate the heroism of the Greek people, not just in fighting for their independence 2 centuries ago, but for defending the cause of freedom. Because of our shared history, we also share a hope and an optimism for the future, knowing that generation after generation, our peoples will continue to stand up and fight for justice. Today, thanks in no small part to the tireless effort of Greek Americans, the U.S.-Greece relationship will be as close as it has ever been under my administration, because it comes from the heart. I'm committed to building on our strong partnership, to advance our shared interests in our alliance, which will create peace and prosperity for all our citizens. So on this day of celebration, let's renew our commitment to defending the democratic principles that sparked our revolutions and the values that unite us. May Greece and the United States continue to lift high the lamp of democracy that serves as a beacon for the world. Thank you, and happy Greek Independence Day.
And now the Exarch of the Ecumenical Patriarch and our host for today's celebration, His Eminence, Archbishop Elpidophoros of America.
Your Eminences, Your Excellencies, dear Archons, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers in the Lord, fellow patriots, σήμερον της σωτηρίας ημών το κεφάλαιον. Today is the chapter head of our salvation, the source, the wellspring, the beginning of our true freedom as human beings. The heroes of 1821 could have chosen no better day to announce their revolution, the rising up that led to the restoration of the Greek people as a nation. For the Feast of the Annunciation is the ultimate day of liberation for all humanity. Those immortal Greeks who rose up on March 25th knew in their souls what Pericles spoke of 500 years before the Annunciation, that freedom was happiness and courage was freedom. But it is the responsibility of every generation to secure its own liberty of conscience, of practice, and life. Each, in their turn, must find the courage within to bring about liberty without. That is why this bicentennial of 1821 speaks with such profundity to us, because we hear the echo of those valiant souls who gave the last full measure. We know that it was their sacrifice that purchased redemption for our forebears and for us as well. This celebration and doxology today must be more than a mere commemoration of their sacrifice. It must be a challenge to all of us. How will we honor that oblation of life that purchased our liberty? What can and what will we do in order to ensure that generations yet to be born will bask in the bright light of freedom? Fellow Greeks and Philhellenes, αγαπητοί μου πατριώτες, the laurels of our ancestors are not withered. They are fresh and green and full of life, but only if we make them so. just as the young virgin gave her assent to the will of God, by saying yes, we too must also say resounding yes, yes to our rightful inheritance as Greeks, yes to democracy, and yes to the democratic ideals that Greece gave to the world. And yes, we must safeguard them each and every day. We must stand for the rights of the oppressed, the minority voices, for those who have been historically disenfranchised. For if we do not defend the rights of all, the blood of the heroes of 1821 will certainly cry from the ground, even as did the blood of the innocent Abel. Therefore, with pride in our hearts and with joy in our faces, let us lovingly offer our thanks to the immortal heroes of 1821. Let us commit our faithfulness to our homeland of Greece and rededicate our lives to the cause of freedom and self-actualization for all human beings. And in doing so, we shall honor those who came before us in the freedom of courage and offer to those who will come after us the happiness of freedom. Ζήτω η Ελλάδα, ζήτω το ελληνικό έθνος.
Thank you for joining us today wherever this broadcast has found you. The spirit of 1821 lives on in the Greek people and the Greek diaspora around the world. May we always hold the sacrifice for liberty sacred and fulfill its promise for ourselves and for our children's children. Long live the heroes of 1821, long live Greece, zito to 21, zito to ελληνικό έθνος.
My name is Eleni Kounalakis, and I am the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of California.
Hi, everyone. I'm Congressman Chris Pappas from New Hampshire.
Hello, I'm John Poulos of Dominion Voting.
Hi, it's Mike Emanuel with Fox News in Washington.
Χρόνια πολλά to everyone. Είμαι ο Φέδων Παπαμιχαήλ, and I just want to join the celebrations.
Hi, I'm Charlie Christ of St. Petersburg, Florida. My grandfather, Adam Christodoulos, immigrated from Cyprus.
Hello, I'm here from Washington, D.C.
Greetings from Quincy, Massachusetts.
Hello, I'm Michael Caceres.
As Kolokotroni once said, God has signed our liberty and will not go back on his promise. As the founders of democracy, Greeks well understand the need to defend and continually nourish democracy and freedom.
It is also a day to celebrate the long history of independence and democracy that underpin Hellenism.
The United States and Greece have continued to share our commitment to democratic institutions.
My family was from the island of Chios and were involved in the struggle for independence.
As a proud Greek from the island of Spetses, where the Orlandos family contributed with ships and actively participated in their evolution,
Η καταγωγή μου είναι από τη Σάμο.
To join in the celebration of Greece's bicentennial.
Greek Independence Day is obviously a joyous occasion in Greece and here in the U.S. with the very proud Greek American community.
My name is John Paneras, and I'm the Clinical Chief of GI and the Director of Endoscopy here at New York Presbyterian Columbia. 2020 was a very difficult year for all of us, especially those in healthcare.
Hi, my name is Alexandra. I'm a nurse here in Manhattan. This past year has been a really hard one for all of us in the city, but I am so grateful to have had the support of my Greek community.
Today, despite the recent setbacks, Greece finds itself among the most developed countries in the world.
Behind me is the St. Nicholas National Shrine, which will be the most visited Orthodox church in the United States upon its completion.
Zito Elas! Happy Greek Independence Day!
Happy Bicentennial, Greece!
Happy Bicentennial, 200 years of Greek independence.
We are grateful for the history, culture, cafe, and faith that make us all pareja.
I'm Ethan Stephanopoulos from Now This. The cultural influences of Greece have been numerous and immeasurable.
At this time of isolation, I hope that we can be more united in the diaspora and help one another as fellow Greeks.
So I wish everyone a happy and safe Greek Independence Day.
Happy Greek Independence Day.
Χρόνια πολλά to everyone.
Χρόνια πολλά to all who are celebrating.
Zito, 25 Μαρτίου.
Happy birthday, Greece.
Happy 25th of March, Χρόνια πολλά.
Ζήτω η Ελλάδα.
Happy Bicentennial.
Μεθύστε με το αθάνατο κρασί του 21.
Let us all celebrate as we mark the 200th year of independence for our beloved homeland.
And I would just like to say, Zito Elas.
Χρόνια πολλά.
Ζήτω οι ήρωες του 1821.
Ζήτω η Ελλάδα.
Ζήτω η Ελλάδα.
Ελευθερία ή θάνατος.
Happy Greek Independence Day.
Ζήτω η Ελλάς!